Relics have been with us for quite some time. Found through events or archaeological sites, they can be quite powerful, and they have been reworked quite a significant amount very recently. So let's take a look at which ones are good, which ones are bad, and which ones are just okay. If you feel that any of these are in the wrong category, because we're going to go from S tier all the way down to F tier, then let me know what you think down in the comments below. Should one of them move to another category? Well, let me know. In the meantime, though, let's go and dive in straight away and start off with the pox sample. Yes, the pox sample is a curious one because, well, it used to be pretty bad, and it recently got reworked a little bit. Jovarian Pox, as a passive effect, will give you a Pox orbital bombardment stance, and basically it's everything that the Geneva Convention has forbidden because it's virus bombing of the planet below. It also gives you a bonus of getting biological technologies, and it increases your leader lifespan by 20 years. The Jovarian Pox, when activated, will also give you a research bonus of plus 50% in biology, which by itself is pretty astoundingly high, but in general it's not really worth it considering everything else that is available. And because of that, the Jovarian Pox will only get into the C tier. Yeah, Jovarian Pox is nice, it is interesting, but it's not really all that good. The virus bombing of a planet kills off the most important thing that is on said planet, the pops. You know, you kind of want those. And yeah, what more can you say? All the other bonuses, aside from maybe the technology bonus for 10 years, there are better options available to you, which is why C is probably the best you're going to get in this scenario. Which brings me to the Ether Drake Head. The Ether Drake Head is actually rather genericson, to be honest, because, well, let's put it this way. The Dragon Head, at a cost of 3,000, will give you the Ether Drake Triumph modifier, which increases happiness by 10% and stability also by 10%. Now, these two are not things that you should really ignore. The Dragon Trophy is quite good when it comes to cranking up the overall happiness of your population, which of course cranks out the more resources and stability as well. There's just happiness across the board, and because of that, it will just firmly get a B tier. Plus, the unity bonus that you're going to get out of it is basically the same as taking the Visions Ascension perk, where you already get 10% unity bonus, and because of that, it just firmly goes into that B tier. It's not astoundingly amazing, but it is quite good. That brings us to the next one, the Khan's Throne. Now, the Khan's Throne was already in the past one of the best ones within the game. What does it do? Well, as a passive, it will reduce your influence claim cost by 20%, which by itself is crazy good if you want to do a lot of warfare, and you can stack bonuses to the point where you can basically get claims for free if you play your cards right, which is insane. You can basically have a free war on the galaxy, total war, no problem whatsoever. Secondly, it will give you access to the Satrapy subject. Now, the Satrapy subject is one of the newer ones within the game. It was introduced relatively recently as of making this video. And what does it do? It gives you a 30% income on your fleet capacity for a subject. So if a subject has 100 fleet capacity, it will need to give you 30 of that. In the late game, this can get out of control really, really quickly, and you will need that fleet capacity because otherwise it's going to A, drip into your economy, but secondly, it's just so good. You want that fleet capacity. The Khan's Throne is amazing, but that's not even talking about its active effects. Its active effects does the following: ship weapon damage plus 20%. That's crazy good. Plus, then on top of that, militarist ethics attraction. I'm not a big fan of anything that does sort of ethics attraction and all that stuff, but in general, this is astoundingly good. And the Khan's Throne is basically our first S tier for today because, my lord, is it good. It is astoundingly good. Speaking of very good, the Rubricator. The Rubricator is free money. If you don't know what the Rubricator does, it does the following. And basically, if we look over here, as a passive effect, it gives you plus 20 society research. Meh, right? Like 20 society research It's one lab's worth of research. It's not all that amazing. However, the active effect of creating 30 minor artifacts cannot be overlooked. You can sell those artifacts for 1,000 energy each, but more importantly, through reverse engineering, you can unlock all sorts of bonuses, whether or not it be science, whether or not it be trade routes, or in very infrequent situations, you can get access to fallen empire buildings by spending minor artifacts. The Rubricator is a money generator, but it can generate some of the rarest buildings within the game. It's astoundingly good. The only issue that you have with it is that you will need to kill a void dragon with it, which is kind of a backstep on things, but it kind of, it illustrates of how powerful it is. Plus, you get a relic world together with it, and just because of that, you get an S tier relic right there and then together with the Khan throne. It's just that good. Then we get to our second row, the Scales of the Worm. Wow, the Scales of the Worm. What does the Scales of the Worm do, ASpec? Well, the Scales of the Worm does the following. It increases your research speed for physics by 10%, which is nice. It's not engineering, but it's nice. Then it does the following if you activate it. It increases your research speed to 20%, so a 10% boost. Again, not that great, but it also decreases your stability by 5. And that right there means it is awful. Plus, you would need to give up the wonders of the worm in order to get access to this. And because of that, the Scales of the Worm are very much into F category. It is terrible. I'm not going to lie. Scales of the Worm is probably one of the worst relics in the game for both the things that you need to give up in order to get it, but also -5 stability. Are you out of your mind? Miniature Galaxy, another very interesting one. Well, what does it do? Well, the Minor Galaxy does the following. A research period of +5%. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Also, an active effect of gaining 50% progress in a random technology. Now, this one can be really, really good if rolled well. Then again, you can only do it every 10 years, which is a little bit unfortunate. But a research speed bonus in general is not bad. It's not awful. And because of that, it probably goes into the same category as the Pox. It goes into the C tier. The passive bonus is nice, but in general, you want to get it for the passive bonus, but the active is not really all that impressive. Then we go into the Surveyor. Now, the Surveyor is one of my personal favorites for a variety of reasons. I personally really like to play tall, and the Surveyor really ties into that. Because if you're playing wide, you get all the resources in the world. You don't need to worry about minerals, you don't need to worry about energy or any of the sciences, because space will just give you all of that. I personally really like to play the tallest of the tall, and the Surveyor really ties into that. And on top of that, it has an activation cost of only 500 energy, and you can do it every 5 years. But that's not the big thing. Passive effect, sensor range +1. Sure, whatever, not the greatest in the world. It's nice. Active effect, however, it scans planets in your territory for new resource deposits. And that right there is the clincher. Every 5 years, you can have up to a +7 or +9 for minerals, energy, or you can get up to 3 of every strategic resource or science. Any of those on any of the planets that you have. And that by itself may not seem all that interesting, but if you get the Surveyor, you can get minerals on worlds that did not have minerals before. And then you put a habitat on that bad boy, and all of a sudden you have the access to the mineral districts, and you can go ham. Same thing goes for all the other resources. The Surveyor is so good in my opinion. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on this one, because if you are playing tall, then this is probably one of the best ones. It's not the best one. It's not S tier, because it's definitely not up there with the Khan or the Rubricator, but for its ability to just generate resources out of nothing every 5 years, this is a solid A tier for me, especially at that cost, and I will go out of my way to get it every single time. Speaking of which, something I go out of my way on trying to get every single time, we of course have the Galatron. How could we forget about the Galatron, the greatest artifact within the galaxy? It looks like just a box, right? Which is open. What is inside the Galatron? We do not know. All we know is that it has a drop rate of about 1% inside of the Caravaneers, and you need to buy Caravaneer coins to get it, and then you need to roll the dice. And I think that I naturally have gotten this thing maybe 3 to 4 times out of all of my gameplay. It is incredibly difficult to get. And in addition, when you get it, the entire galaxy will get a CB on you. But let's talk about the bonuses though. Passive effect, diplomatic weight, plus 100%. Wow, plus 100% is just utter insanity. Basically, you get to be the strongest person in the galaxy diplomatically, instantly. Everybody will be your friend. Everybody can just listen to you because you're going to be custodian, and then immediately afterwards you're going to be emperor. Influence plus 3. Do you want to spam habitats everywhere and megastructures? The Galatron is your thing to get. Of course, difficult to get, but still. In addition, its active effects are one of the few situations when it comes to relics where the active is not as good as the passive. It will give you random resources. Any resource within the game, basically. It will give you random ones. Energy, minerals, alloys, all that stuff will just be randomly given to you at a pulse of 3,000 unity every 10 years. It's not the greatest. In the past, it would randomly activate itself. And because of that, it's just okay. But in general, the Galatron is basically a game winner if you're playing the game diplomatically. So it's not an all-rounder, and this is also why it's going to go into A territory. But still, the Galatron is amazing. And as I said, it's one of the few instances where the passives outweigh the wonders that is the actives. Next up, we have the Omnicodex. The Omnicodex, once again, is a bit of a weird one. What does the Omnicodex do, ASpec? Well, it does the following. First of all, passive effect, G modification points plus 1. I mean, if you're going to go down to genetic engineering track, you want to get the Omnicodex. I think that's relatively straightforward. It ties into that quite nicely. But its active effect, where you basically can get 3 pops for effectively free every 10 years, is rather nice, because it will spawn random pops into a random planet on your empire. They can be any type of pop. But if you're going to go down the genetic engineering track already, like with this, then it's good. It's all right. It's not amazing. It's not that great. Let's put it that way. I'm definitely going to put this into the C category together with the Javarian Pox and the Miniature Galaxy. It's nice to have for the passives, even though the passives are not even that great. But yeah, you get the general idea. The Head of Zarklan. Wow, the Head of Zarklan. Probably one of the most dubious artifacts within the game. What does it do? Well, first of all, you are allowed now to settle holy worlds. That's the passive. That's it. You get to settle holy worlds. It's not really all that great because anybody can already own that territory, because the Head of Zarklan usually spawns quite late into the game, and then you need to attack whoever owns that space in order to get the territory, and usually it's around the same time that the galaxy is already pretty damn stable. So it's not really all that good. Active effect, it summons a small Fallen Empire fleet. It does increase in size every time you use it. But then the Spiritualist Ethics attraction of plus 75% hits so damn hard that it becomes problematic. Unless you are a Spiritualist, you do not want to use the Head of Zarklan, because it's going to make your population incredibly unhappy. If you've got Materialists in your empire or a whole bunch of other types of pops, and all of a sudden you throw Spiritualists into the mix and you've got robots everywhere, yeah, they're not going to be too happy about that, and expect your population to go down in terms of happiness quite significantly. Yes, does it spawn a good a fleet of Fallen Empire ships? Sure, I would not recommend it unless you're a Spiritualist. It's incredibly situational, and that's why it gets the D tier. Then we get to the Praetorian Brood Queen. Yes, the Praetorian Brood Queen. This is a thematic one that will come up a couple of times more, as it's basically one that you can only get after the game is already over, and its score will be impacted because of that. What does the Hive Queen or Brood Queen actually do? For a cost of 10,000 food, basically you will get a sizable Praetorian fleet, and as a passive it will increase society research by 50%. We saw that one before with some of the other ones. The Praetorian Brood Queen is cool on paper, right? But at this point in the game, when you get it, it's just such a non-issue. Like, I get an additional fleet. That's nice. I can crank out a fleet of battleships that destroy these Praetorians where they stand. Because of that, it goes into the E tier. It's just not good. It's good. It just, you can't get it when it is good. Let's put it that way. It's just not very useful within the grand scheme of things. And that's just highly unfortunate. It's not as bad as the scales, but still, like, you know, what are you going to do? The Blade of the Huntress, I think, is something that, again, similar to the Surveyor, a lot of people are sleeping on because it's actually quite good for what it does and how you can get it. You can basically get it for free, let's put it that way, because it will randomly spawn within your empire. Blade of the Huntress, army morale plus 25%, it's garbage, nobody cares. Planetary sensor range plus 2, it's useful, you can see a little bit further, see what's coming in your general direction, which is nice. Diplo weight plus 10, always nice, it's a great passive, it doesn't really matter what you do with it. Sublight speed plus 25%, however, is actually quite good for a variety of reasons. When it comes to warfare in Stellaris, it's all about positioning your fleet, in my opinion. Where are you going to move your fleet to? Where are they going to go? Can you outrun the enemy and get to the choke nodes within reason, or form up on your doom stack, that sort of thing. Also, if you're in system with another empire and you're going to get into combat and they've got long-range weapons and you don't, having the ability to get close to the enemy is actually incredibly useful. And because of that, Blade of the Huntress is actually something that is quite good. Is it as good as some of the other ones that are in the game? No. Is it situational? Absolutely. Would I be putting it together with the Surveyor and the Galatron? Absolutely not. But it does go together with the Wormhead, basically, because it is quite good in those situations. Plus, it's a passive diplomatic bonus. It's actually kind of nice in that regard. So just don't bash it. Don't bash it. The Psionic Archive. Okay, what does the Psionic Archive do, and where do you get it? Well, first of all, the Psionic Archive, you can only get it if you have the Zeroni Precursor. The Zeroni Precursor is pretty difficult to get because it only spawns under very, very specific circumstances, but however, what does it do? Well, first of all, it increases your ruler level cap, which is nice. You know, ruler level cap is good, but +1 doesn't really, you know, make it all that interesting. The cooldown on breaching to the Shroud is reduced to 50%, which is great if you can get the right boons out of it. The boons that you can get from the Shroud are really, really good sometimes, but it's a bit of a gamble, so, you know, you need to be a little bit careful with it. It also gives you access to the Giro additives, which basically increases your leader experience gain and longevity. So it increases the leader lifespan by, I think, by 20 years. And on top of that, they'll learn quicker, which is nice as well. And on top of that, the ruler level cap. The ruler level cap is on +5, yeah. But the active, you get to contact a spirit called Jabaxti in search of guidance on different matters. Now, I'm actually going to need to check my notes on this one, what it actually does in that particular scenario, because it is a little bit weird. Basically, you get a bunch of Jabaxti bonuses, which basically increases your leader by, or your ruler by +1 in leadership. That's nice. It gives you a bunch of other bonuses, but overall, it's just so rare and difficult to get that this goes together with, I would say, the some of the more dubious ones. So I'm sorry, but this has to go with the Miniature Galaxy and the Javarian Pox. Like, it's good if you can get it. Is it amazing? Not really. Like, what are you gonna do with it? Speaking of which, that brings us to the Isolated Contingency Core. The Isolated Contingency Core, similar to the Broodmother, is a post-game artifact. It's a post-game relic. You're not going to get it until the contingency has died and you've won the game, which is highly unfortunate because it is probably the most powerful relic in the game, bar none. It allows you the construction of 1 additional megastructure of each type. That is ridiculous. You can have 2 Dyson spheres. You can two of everything. You want 2 megastructures, 2 fleet yards? Go ahead. 2 black hole suckers, you could do that. 2 science nexuses, absolutely, you can do that. You don't even need to find a broken one if you can get away with it. And because of that, it's super powerful and super good. Mechanical pop assembly speed, plus 100%. You want to have your pops go twice as fast, it's insanely good. Megastructure build speed on its active by 300%. I want to not put this into E tier, but I have to, because as good as it is, it does not matter. It simply doesn't. It's so good, but it does not matter. Same thing for, I'm just going to go and preemptively put the Warlock in there as well, because it applies, it's the same thing here, because the Warlock, once again, is objectively quite good. You know, sublight speed plus 30%. It's the same story as with the Hunter's Blade. Ship weapon range plus 30% is amazing. Active effects, they're okay, jump drive stuff, but their passives are just so good. But again, you get it to the end of the game, so it doesn't matter. It's all out of the window. Like, who cares about whether or not you can get all that stuff if it's, you know, when the game's already over? It's just unfortunate. The Defragmenter. Yeah, the Defragmenter. It's the one that everybody always overlooks because nobody seems to care about the Defragmenter, even though, once again, it is in fact quite good. What does a Defragmenter do, ASpec? Well, it does the following. As a passive, it reduces robot upkeep by 10%, building energy upkeep by 10%, district energy upkeep by 10%, and that's the same for job energy upkeep. Basically, it's a great boon to robots and energy, you know, making sure that you have enough energy. So as a robot, this is actually quite good. It's active. It gives you plus 20% energy. It's basically the same thing as the Edict. Research speed for engineering, which is arguably the best technology within the game, plus 10%. It's just flat out amazing, the Defragmenter. It's not amazing, but it's definitely up there together with the Blade of the Huntress, in my opinion, when it comes to just the passives, and then, you know, throw some other stuff on top of it. It's just good. It's just a solid relic. And yeah, that's pretty much all you can say about it, really. Which basically takes us to the Valtuum Reality Perforator. Now, I am going to say a couple things that are a little bit awkward about the Perforator, because I know some people who really don't like the Perforator, and I am not one of those people, because it's objectively, once again, quite good, but it is a bit of a gamble. Why? Because the Perforator does the following. First of all, as a passive, pop amenities, which is minus 10%. Whatever. Nobody cares. Put a trait on a bunch of pops, and it is done. Run a bunch of civics, etc. It's not the end of the world. Its active effect, though, basically it perforates reality, i.e. the simulation, for a powerful temporal combat advantage. So it gives you a plus 40% on either firepower, hull, energy, or armor. One of those 4. So you're kind of rolling the dice here. And I'm a big fan of it because I keep on rolling the bonus for firepower for some reason. But again, it's a 25% chance. And for that cost, in a pinch, it can be life and death if you're really want to roll the dice with it. Is it as good as the Perforator, for instance, with just the passives that just gives you great passives over time? Not really. Like, it's okay, but do I want to put it in C? I kind of want to put it in C. It's good enough to be not terrible, but it's okay. Like, again, very situational. Not as good as these ones that are just flat out great. So let's put it that way. Speaking of absolutely great, the Baul. Okay, the Baul. Whew, it has recently been nerfed. I think that's already enough as an illustration straight away. So, passive bonus. Pop growth speed plus 10%, right out of the gate. Amazing. Then as it's active every 10 years for 3,000 unity, new Baul life seeding grants the ability to turn one planet, that is none of these categories, into a Gaia world. And you get 3 pops for free. So basically it's kind of like the Omni Codex, except it also gives you a Gaia world. Yeah, it is so good. I am not even going to, like, the Baul, to me, is like instant S tier, just because of how good it is. It will give you free Gaia worlds. You don't need to go World Shaper with this bad boy. It is just, you want Gaia worlds? Here, have some Gaia worlds. If you're playing tall, this is definitely the way to go, because Gaia worlds means perfect habitability, which means perfect happiness, which means perfect stability, which means maximum production of everything. The Ba'ul is just insanely good. And it's been nerfed, yes, because no longer is it instant that you grow your planet into a Gaia world. But even then, like over the period of a couple of years, to turn a planet into a Gaia world is absolutely batshit insane. And it's just beyond powerful. And it's for some reason, it's also the precursor that I keep on rolling. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't care. It is good. It's so good it needs to have a flat-out nerf bat being thrown at it. Speaking of flat-out nerf bat being thrown at it, here is the Cybrex Warforge. The Cybrex Warforge is the best relic in the game. Like, ignore these ones because they don't matter. It's just, it should be in its own tier, basically, because that's how good it is. What does the Cybrex Warforge do? Well, first of all, as a passive, it gives you access to the best ground units within the game. Nobody cares about ground units, so that's fine. However, its activation. Its activation will give you, for the cost of starting out 2,000 minerals, it will instantly turn those into 1,000 alloys. And then it will ramp up. Every single time you use it, it will increase in the amount of minerals that you can put in and the amount of alloys that you take out. It is ridiculous. It ramps up so fast. Alloys outside of pops are the name of the game, and it's probably the most important resource that you need. You want to have a fleet, you need alloys. You need megastructures, you need alloys. You need stations, you need alloys. Alloys are bar none the most important resource in the game, and the Cybrex Warforge will give you that. Plus, if you find a Cybrex Warforge, you have yourself a free ring world as well. So, you know, put a ring on it because it's done. It's just that good. SS tier, like SSS plus tier. That's how good it is. Speaking of not on the other side, it's the Yuf Cryocore. Alright, so the Yuf Cryocore, what does it do? Why do I not like it? The Yuf Cryocore is heavily undervalued in terms of, no, it's just not good at all, okay? Passive effect. If you establish a world, you get an extra pop. That's nice. If you're playing super tall and you have a lot of habitats, this is pretty useful. But by the time you get the Yuf Core, as in you've probably already gotten all the territory that you can get initially, you're not going to be colonizing anymore by the time you get this thing, so this bonus is completely gone. The energy weapon attack speed, however, is good if you go energy weapons. So if you go disruptors, anything that's point blank range, energy torpedoes, sure, that's fine. Lances, that sort of thing. It's good. But, you know, the active effect, it reduces your ship upkeep by 20%. You're only going to be using this either in wartime, and there are better options, like minus 20% ship upkeep. If you're not going to, if your fleet is not good enough to undock, then why would you even, you know, have a fleet that big? Or more importantly, if you're in wartime, you want to use something else. You want to use Blade of the Huntress, really. Or you want to use the Vultrum Perforator if you can. But not the Yuf Cryocore. Come on, not the Yuf Cryocore. It's okay. It's all right. It goes in with the C tier. Yes, it's together with the Vultum core. I don't care. It has some fun bonuses. The energy attack weapon speed is good, but aside of that, it's all right. It's not amazing. Oh well. Now we get to the last three, and these three were not in the previous version of this video. Some of these were actually not in the previous version of this video. We start out with the Crystal of Odriaska. Yes, the Crystal of Odriaska. You have probably never heard of this particular relic. What does it do? Well, the relic was added in 3.6. And basically what it does is passive. It gives you your monthly rare crystals plus 15%. Pretty decent, you know? And that's all right. Like the further you get into the game, the more crystals you generate, it scales. Anything that has percentage bonuses scales over time, which is great. The active, however, is where this one is slightly broken. So what does it do, ASpec? Well, it does, in fact, the following. Allow me to illustrate. If I press this button, basically what it does is it will generate 60 times my energy income per month. That's right. It will generate 60 months of energy income for you. That is beyond batshit insane. It basically means, hey, you want 60 months of energy? Here you go. You can buy anything now, basically. And because of that, it goes into S tier. Because it just unlocks so much stuff on the galactic market. It doesn't matter. You wanna buy anything in the game? You want to buy all the favors from everybody? There you go. The crystal will allow you to do it. No problem whatsoever. It is completely insane in how strong it is. Also, on top of that, if you use it, one of your scientists has the chance of becoming maniacal, which gives him just another science bonus on top of it. It's just so good. It's just insane. The crystal is good, okay? It's just that good. Then we get to the Toxic God, or at least the Maw of the Toxic God. What does the Maw of the Toxic God do, ASpec? And is it any good? Because I don't play with Knights of the Toxic God. I'm glad you ask, dear viewer. It increases your strike craft by 15%. That's it. That's the passive. Relic, then it gives you 1,000 exotic gases upon activated. So that's 1,000 exotic gas every 10 years. Sure. Get Zarkland. It's not very good. It's just... I gave it was 10,000 gas, sure. But not 1,000 gas. And a strike craft bonus? 15%? Like, if it was 30, then be talking. But... yeah, it's just strange. It's just not very good. Get Zarkland, I would say. And then we get to the last one. The last one. You've been probably wondering about this one. What is the Radiance? Yes, what is the Radiance indeed? There it is. It's called R_the Radiance. There is no details on this particular relic. It is unknown. It currently has a placeholder text. It is in the code for the game. What is it going to do? I do not know. This is strange because the developers have put this thing in. It has art. It looks really cool. But I have no idea what it's supposed to be doing. It looks like a crystalline flower. It could be crystalline related. It could be nice to have something to offset, for instance, the Surveyor, because the Surveyor does spawn with the ancient mechanics or the mining fleets, and the crystals. I guess you get the crystalline armor with it, or the hull armor, but not a relic. And because of that, we're just going to keep this relic where it is. It's going to hang out in the middle of the pool until we find out what the relic does. What do you think the relic does? You've gotten this far in the video. Put your comments down below. What do you think this relic is for? It has just dummy text. It has art. It is in the code. It has a name. I don't know what it's going to do, but we will see. What do you think about this list? This is it. This is the tier list. S all the way down to F. The scales are the worst, and the Warforged together with the Crystal are by far the best. Well, I would love to see what you have in mind regarding this list, because overall, I think I'm pretty on point here. Probably B, C category. Needs a couple of switcheroos here and there, in your opinion, but we'll see. In the meantime, though, if you want to see more of this type of content, we're going to be doing some more tier lists in the near future, because it's the end of the year, which means that new stuff has been coming out, and we're going to need to recap the year, of course. And we're going to do in the next one, we're probably going to do some memes, some memes. Which ones were the best of 2022 in the Stellaris community? We will find out. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons, and until next time, take good care of yourselves. And as always, each other.